All right, guys. So we are doing a live this morning on BTC and Gold. I don't know what's going on with my camera, but that's fine. You don't need to see me. What you need to see is the chart, right? So live analysis on BTC and Gold, right? I really don't see anything at this time on either of these uh pairs. I don't see anything at this time. But I am going to take a look and see what could potentially happen and if we could figure out what could potentially happen. The idea as well, I want a lot of people to kind of get, oh, there's my camera. The idea as well, what I think a lot of people need to understand is there must be that equilibrium in all of the different assets. Equilibrium suggests that the market needs to find balance, right? Balance from the perspective of market just can't go one way. It has to come back and it has to pull back and it has to resume normal activities. What I mean by that is when the market is moving heavily like this, while it might seem like a normal activity is not any activity at all, right? The fact that it's moving suggests that it's changing in price, right? Which is not normal, right? What I mean, or what I really want you to understand is that equilibrium is necessary, right? So let's actually take a look at gold. Now, I don't know if you remember the analysis that I produced last week. I believe it was that Wednesday. Yes, Wednesday. Right? Oh no, sorry. Yes, I produced this analysis on Wednesday. And the analysis spoke to the fact that it would probably try to get rid of the sellers first and then go back up. And if that didn't happen, it would mean that it would probably try to sell off. And so said, so done. It's actually still actively selling off. Now, the question that I want a lot of people to take into consideration is where's it selling off to? Now, do you think I have an answer to that? Do you think you have an answer to that? No, we don't. There's no realistic way that we could get an answer to that. Where is it going? All right. You can't know that as a buyer, you can't know that as a seller. As I've said before, I'll say it multiple times again. The only way to know what a market is going to do is after it already does it. That's the only way. Right? If there was another way, somebody would have figured it out. All right. The reality is the only way to know is after it already did what it was supposed to do. Right? We can analyze, we can speculate, we can guess, right? But generally speaking, there's no way to know. That being said, this is very, very important. What I do is I only engage when I do have a very good idea of what it is doing, right? So rather than try to guess and speculate and maybe possibly figure out what it maybe kind of sort of possibly might suggestedly buy from this. No, I'm not interested. What I am actually interested in is when it is actually showing me that it's buying. And the reason for that is I take away the guesswork. I am no longer interested in trying to analyze, to engage. My analysis or me doing this now is simply to pass the time. It's simply to show off, I should say. Right. So when I produce an analysis and I draw where I think it's going to go and all of that, that's me showing off. That's just me showing that I have a pretty good understanding of the flows of the market. But in terms of actually using my analysis like this, because again, let's look at this last one here. If you go in the Brand and Explains channel, you will actually see. This is the last thing I said. It would probably get up to somewhere here and then drop. It literally did that to the tune of missing it by about what 7 pips or so, five to 7 pips. I was about 5 to 7 pips off, and this would not be the first time that I was this close, and it definitely ain't gonna be the last time. But did I use this though? No. You know why? Because gold is a bullish market, and selling is not something that I'm ever interested in. Right? Very, very rare you would find me selling gold. It's not that I would uh uh never, ever, ever sell gold, but it has to be obvious, right? It has to be obvious. Now, what do I mean by obvious? I mean that it has to basically suggest nothing other than sells to me, right? And it's absolutely clear. And intuition is where this comes in, right? The intuition of understanding that, yes, I do believe based on my experience that it is going to continue to sell off. That being said, based on what's going on right now, I don't think anything of gold. I don't think it's going to sell. I don't think it's going to buy because I don't know, right? And as I mentioned to you, the only way to know for sure is after it already does it, right? You can analyze, you can guess, you can speculate, you could, draw whatever you want to draw. Does not matter. It means nothing, right? So where do I think gold is going from here? At the very least, based on just on an analysis, at the very least, I would say this level here, it looks pretty good. I'm gonna make this maybe green, right? At the very least, I would say this level here. Why? Because this is the last area that I know. Let me just adjust that there. This is the last area that I know that gold had any buyers. And the reason for a sell, and this is important as well, the reason for a sell is to get rid of buyers, right? By actively having sellers come in and take advantage of the liquidity that's there. Where's the liquidity? The liquidity is below where the buyer's stop losses would be. All right. Do I think that gold is going to do something like this, however? No, I don't think so. I actually feel like it could drop even lower than that. All right. How low? I will leave that to be seen. All right. I'm not going to try to analyze, but I do believe gold is going to at least try to get to this level. Right. Um, and the reason why I believe that it's not just going to turn and randomly go up from here is because when you look at the momentum, it's not just in bearish momentum, but it's also in a bearish channel. Let me draw that better. It's also in a bearish channel, right? That bearish channel is enough for me to suggest that, yes, it's probably going to continue to do what it's been doing. It's probably going to continue to sell. And because it's in a bearish channel, it's in bearish momentum, that those sells are definitely taking precedent, meaning I cannot buy. Something I want you to think about as well. The purpose of the momentum is actually telling you who's winning. So if the market is in bearish momentum, who's winning? It's the sellers that are winning. And if the sellers are winning, why in common sense, right? Even though they say that common sense isn't too common, but why would common sense suggest to you that you should go and buy? It does not make any sense, right? If we know that the momentum suggests who's winning, and we know that the momentum at this point is bearish, then logically, buying when the market is selling is not a good idea, right? Now, there's there is some truth to this, and there's something that you have to think about. Because people would then ask the question, so is it that we have to only buy when the market is buying? No, it's not that. It's not that I'm telling you that buy low, sell high is no longer a factor. Buy low, sell high is still a thing. You still want to buy at the low. You want to buy somewhere down here. But here's the problem. The problem is the fact that you don't know where the low is. You don't know where the low is. You don't know where the low can start, where it can end, how far it's going, how much lower it wants to go. And that's the problem. It's not a matter of if we should buy low or sell high. It's how do you know where the low is? How do you know where the high is? And that's where most traders get in trouble. I circumvent that completely by not trying to figure it out. I'm not interested in trying to figure out where's the absolute best place in terms of where's the lowest point I could buy from or where's the highest point I could sell from. I'm not trying to figure that out. Instead, what I do, rather than trying to figure out what the market is trying to do, as I've mentioned in this video and multiple videos in the past, the only way to truly understand where the market is going is after it already goes there. That's how I trade. So when the market is actually bullish, then you'll find me trading. You'll find me firing up. The entire day yesterday, I did not engage at all. The reason for that is the market wasn't doing anything, and that would be case in point here. The market wasn't doing anything, right? And today's we could say is more of the same. We could genuinely say gold today is more of the same. It's not doing anything realistically. So can we trade it today? Absolutely. Should we? I don't think so. Let's take a look at BTC now. All right. I'm doing both BTC and gold in this analysis. All right. BTC is bullish, and BTC, just like gold, BTC is known as the digital gold, is bullish as well. right? It's a very, very bullish market. And if you just zoom out a little bit, just takes a little bit of time and zoom out, you will actually see the BTC is just as bullish as gold, right? Arguably a little more bullish because of how far it got to, right? The price of BTC, listen, you can't compare the price of BTC to the price of gold, right? The time it took BTC to get to that price, gold still struggling to reach even one tenth of what BTC has accomplished in less than half the time, right? BTC is sitting at $103 for one coin, whereas gold is sitting at 3,200, yeah, $3,234 for one troy ounce of gold. We're talking gold is not even one tenth the value in price, in terms of price, not in terms of market cap, in terms of price. So BTC is arguably more bullish than gold, right? But here's the thing. Is it that bullish right now? No, it's not. Now, why would I say that? You would then ask the question, you say, but B, it looked like it have a little bullish momentum here, and you'd be right. But here's the problem. BTC is sitting beneath a level that has just been proven to be a specific level. And that proof is right here. Buyers, 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 and these buyers were taken out here. If the market comes back here, if we know that the buyers were taken out at this level and sellers started to win, wouldn't sellers come back in here as well? What do you think? Let's use logic. Wouldn't sellers come back in right in this area here if we know that sellers started to win here? And you remember, I want you to think. I want you to think about this. This is why most traders fail. Most traders do not think. Most traders draw a few zones and they say, well, oh, this look like a brick and retest. So let's just sell here randomly, or let's just buy here randomly. You have to think, right? You don't get paid to trade, you get paid to think, right? If this is the case, should we buy here if we think that sellers were winning or could potentially be winning here? No, you cannot. So I cannot engage on BTC because as much as it has bullish momentum, it is in an area, in a region right now where we know that it had issues passing before. We also know that within this region, sellers recently took over and started to win. And anytime, remember, we spoke about who's winning. If you understand who's winning, you understand what side you should take allegiance to. That's only common sense. You seeing the French and the Spanish at war, and the French winning, you willingly going to choose the Spanish side? Even if you are a Spaniard, even if you are from Spain, even if you're Spanish in some region or some way, and you see the Spanish winning, I mean Spanish losing. If you see the Spanish losing and you are Spanish, but you have a choice on which side you take allegiance to, common sense will tell you go by the French, even if you are Spanish. Now, there will be some people who are diehard Spanish and no, I'm going on with my country. No. You know what? What I want you to think about is you have to preserve life over everything else. Why would you willingly go? Right? And this is an interesting topic because then people say, no, you're a five-fair country, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going into that. I'm just saying you need to go where whoever is winning. Where if it is the buyers are winning, you go by the buyers. If the sellers are winning, you go by the sellers. It is that simple. Right? And that is what I'm doing. That is how I am able to make my money doing this. That is how I'm able to do it in rapid succession. That's how I'm able to teach traders how to do it in rapid succession. Because trading is not something that is supposed to be very, very complex for no reason. It's not something that is supposed to be very complex because you want it to be complex. Right? You want trading to be complex only when it needs to be. Right? And the instant you make it more complex than it needs to be, you're wasting your time. You're making you're basically making this, you're adding extra steps for no reason, right? So based on what I am seeing in regards to BTC right now, I do not see the ability to buy at this time. Uh, I neither see the ability to sell because obviously we're bullish on BTC, all right? But in the regard of what would make me become bullish on BTC, is simple. Obviously, I want to see extreme momentum coming back in, suggesting to me that the sellers are no longer a problem. But I would actually also realistically, I feel like I wanted to clear this. Why? Because again, if we have to have price bounce between a level where it's at right now and a next level, I would say that this makes sense. We know that sellers were winning here. We know that sellers were winning here. We know that sellers were winning here, and we could even say here, because the market went up and it cleared right back down below this. And I'm going to change the time frame so you can see that the market never really got beyond this level. If you look at this on the 1 hour, I'm sure, there you go, right? So the market never really stayed above this level, right? So for me to trust BTC buys, what I actually need to see is this. That's all. That's literally what I need to see. Let me make that black and let me make it a solid line. All right? Solid line. That's what I need to see. I don't want to see, and notice I made just one part. I don't want to see this and then this and then this and then this. I don't, no, 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 no. I want to see just go straight up because at least at that point, it suggests to me that the momentum is so strong that it didn't even want to stop here. You remember, whoever is winning is who you need to align yourself with. The more and the more you try to think about it, the more you align yourself with what I'm telling you here, the easier your trading becomes. When you look at my trading history, when I send my trading history, right, in the Brand and Explains channel, or I show it to you on Telegram or wherever, and you see it, and you realize that most of my trades are of one type, either buys or sells. And when you look at the wins to losses, the ratio of wins to losses or the win rate, if I'm only buying and I'm only buying in a market that is only buying, you would find that I'm only winning. But there's a reason for that. It's because I'm aligning myself with who I believe to be in power. Right? The way I see it, I think that makes sense. Right? Some people might say, but B, that's a stupid thing to do, or or it's obvious or whatever. If it's so obvious, then why aren't you doing it? You understand? The problem I think a lot of traders have, as I said, is they like to make this complex for no reason. Right? They like to make this complex for no reason. They feel like, if it is they don't draw and have a bunch of indicators on the chart and they don't make it sound more complex than it really needs to be, then they're not actually doing what is necessary. But interestingly enough, if you look at this from the perspective of engineering, and I don't want to call myself a financial engineer or a quant, right? But if you look at it from the perspective of engineering, all engineers will tell you they try to they tend to try to prioritize finding the most simple solution for time, cost, application, and just overall making the job easy. Why would you want to make something more complex when it doesn't need to be? So here's what. If all I need to win is the market to go straight up, and all I am doing when it does that is start to buy when I see it buying, doesn't that make sense? Waiting. Does that make sense? Now, people will say, well, how do you then buy, with the market like that? How do you know where to buy? That's where the system that I use comes into play. And that's what I teach specifically. But I don't want to go into too much detail. I'm telling you, if you see the market buying, like strongly buying, and that's all it's been doing, I promise you, just try it. Put on 0.01 and just leave it and see what it does. And tell me that it does not continue to go into profit. And tell me, I'm talking if the market is truly buying. If it is, you know that you found out the secret that buy when the market is buying and sell when the market is selling and do nothing when the market is doing nothing. That is the only way that I trade. And I will do that until I can't do it anymore. If the market is not doing anything, I'm not engaging. If gold somehow by some sheer stroke of luck or I don't know, some kind of craziness happens in the world economy, right? And gold happens to turn into a bearish market where people are now selling gold. They no longer want to invest money into gold and it's driving price down. I'll change my bias from being bullish on gold to being bearish. And I will only be selling gold until otherwise can be done. Because again, what I am doing is I am making it my business to trade where I think the market is going. Whatever the momentum is doing is what Brandon will be doing. So Based on what I have right now, I don't have anything on gold. I don't have anything on BTC, and I'm not going to try. Today is one of those days where I'll just chill out, right? Every day can be a fishing day. Not every day has to be a catching day. Have a good one, guys. See you soon.